Look at today, it's like I keep hearing it's so much about like me for a long time. I was a dinosaur. Didn't want to get email. Didn't want to get social media. Didn't want to get on TikTok. Just didn't want to do any of those things, right? And it's like left behind. It's like you started finding out at some point you got to get this. Like it's hard to be under the grid. You got to get this. They're gonna connect you to something, or you're gonna be left behind. But now, that's what it is today. Today has replaced the left behind of old. Today it's more important not to be left behind socially, not to be left behind, obviously, economically and financially, but not to be left behind outside of your friend circle. It's like left behind meant the book of Revelations when I was coming up, right? It seriously meant the book. Hey, you're right. You're right. And I'm not saying it does. You're right. That movie does not compare to what's going on. You're right. But it was a serious movie, and they made that movie with an intention of letting some people know, those who was raised in a Christian home. I will first acknowledge that. That at some point, the thought of the rapture was serious enough to say, you're either going to go up in the sky one day, or you're going to watch people go and you're going to be left behind. For some people, that was a serious thought. But you're right, the movie was good. But today, what's going on is crazy. And I'm glad you picked up on my thought. Because those thoughts, those fears are no longer here. I was listening to a report on AI writing a book. And for what a man can do formally, or a woman can do formally, when it comes to writing, it would take AI probably 1 hour to write the amount of words that somebody else has taken, a month to write. 10,000 to 1 words. You know what that means? That means a lot of people are going to be faced with dealing with AI or being what? Say the words with me. Left behind. The same way a long time ago, some of us didn't want to deal with so many social media or formats, or even email, even so much technology with cell phones. I remember swearing to myself, I'm not going to 5G. I'm not doing 5G because of all of the negative waves and all of this negativity we hear about it. What they're supposed to do in the communities, and we noticed where the towers was built. A lot of them was in poor communities, and I was just like, nah, I ain't going to 4G. And I will keep it honest. I will keep it solid. I do know a couple brothers that still got flip phones, and that won't come off the grid. That won't. They stay under the grid. But I know in some type of way, some type of form, when you go to these hospitals, when you go to the doctor to get a checkup, you have no way of being in America almost and call yourself off the grid unless you really like have a real substantial amount of cash on hand. Cash. We're not talking about no cars. We're talking about cash. And so I'm just saying, like, when I look at what AI, the capability of what it's doing, people who taking billing and coding. I had a friend that told me she was going to take a coding class. And I was like, whoa, you better find out what's going on with coding. If you're looking to take some type of billing and coding, you better look to another thing, because this AI is knocking it out like so fast. Like I said, 10,000 to 1 words. I asked my son to do something like that for me, and he told me to give him a sentence. I gave him 1 sentence of something I wanted to have written, and within 3 minutes, it was, a whole book. Almost a whole book, a small book. And I'm saying that is what we're dealing with. Left behind. We just got to get a grip on, like the brother said earlier, that movie has no comparison to what's going on today. Because the things that we are politically pacifying today, the things that we are looking right past, the things that we actually have principles upon, we talking about the government actually playing God and giving certain people the right to play God. And now it's like that's not even a thought when it comes to the rapture. That's not even a thought. And I'm not saying who's right or wrong about the rapture. I'm not saying what's true and what's false. I'm saying the thought of a rapture, the thought of being in one consciousness of God and with God and going with God one day. That's not even a thought. That's not even being pushed anymore. As a matter of fact, the harder you push it, the sooner you ought to be canceled. What's going on? And so, yeah, I got email now. I got an email now. I'm finally doing a little bit of things, here and there. You say left behind. Those words meant something totally different. Like the brother said, in that movie, in that concept, they was dealing with just simply righteousness, going with God or not. Are you bad or are you good? Now left behind means everything. Left behind means that you can be canceled in a minute. And see, thankfully, I don't have, 100,000 followers, so I don't have to worry about being canceled right now. So, but the thought of being left behind absolutely means nothing in comparison to what it meant to, what it used to mean. And now, like I said, people look at their livelihood, people look at their friends, their social media, their followers, their likes. People gotta have likes. They gotta have likes. And so they look at all of this stuff, and that determines what left behind means for them. If you don't have the right amount of social power and social status, and sometimes people don't even care if they have a job. I know people that are broke, but if they can keep the right image on social media, they don't really care, because they just leech off of their friends and family, and they understand that they can survive, but they feel it's so important not to be left behind in the new meaning of left behind. I tell you, my people, my family, my friends, my loved ones, we better not put so much importance in the new meaning of what they're giving us for left behind. I say that because I know more friends that used to speak of God, that when you speak of God to them right now, you know what they'll tell you? Well, you know what? I think it's the universe and the birds and the bees. And I agree with you to a full point. I totally agree with some of what you're saying, because I think God said we had to look at nature, and actually God speaks through nature. God speaks through everything. But the minute you start thinking that, not everybody. I got to wrap this up for my TikTok. I do appreciate TikTok. It gives you about 10 minutes, and I'm not a person who wrap things up into 10 minutes, so I'm learning to do that, because I think details are important. But I think we as a people, we got to get a grip on ourselves, got to get a grip in reality back on who we are meant to be, who we are meant to be, and how it's looking thus far and the way we're going. The future of America is, if it's going to be a political future, it's sad, it's bad. So we better get back to spirituality. We better get back to that. Specifically, especially if someone does not get a like at the end of the world for them, the things that people do for views and likes. My friend, you're 100% correct. I'm ending this now for TikTok. The things that people do for a like is serious. You got people that stand by and watch people get beat up, slapped around, sometimes shot and killed, and they'll sit there and film it. That's the most important thing going on. What happened to loving our people, the love for our people? I'm just, I don't like to speak too long, but I appreciate you. I notice drums in the word. I'm noticing drums, and I happen to be a musician myself. So if you're into drums and you're into music, man, let's speak about it. Let's talk about it. I'm a pretty good musician. I love to do conscious artwork and conscious music, uplifting music, something that somebody can listen to and love to, a lot of friends to listen to. Spoken word as well. So get at me. Hopefully we can do something. I love the people. God is good. Be safe going into the weekend. Don't trust everything you see on the news. Definitely not the news, because they're getting paid billions to keep us dumb. And also not just social media. I expect people to look up whatever they hear, no matter who it's from. That's right. My brother said he is a drummer. Okay, yeah. I'm actually trying to learn how to drum. I actually just bought a guitar as well. But I'm kind of failing on learning how to play that guitar. But I love music, my friend. So hopefully we can speak off off a line in Messenger or something, and do a riff with drums, man. You know, ain't nothing like a drum line, nothing like a drum line. So yeah, my people, go into the weekend, be safe, man. Tell your loved ones every day as much as you can you love them, because man, I've been, it's just, you never know. I say that as a person that's been, that's right. A person that's been dealing with a couple funerals back to back, and a friend of mine, just a very, 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 very close friend, special person in my life, just lost somebody. I just lost another friend who I did a lot of work with, marching for veterans, marching all over the country for homelessness, for for mental health, for the veterans, for our own rights, for equality. And so, she just passed. And, so power to the people, power to God. But more than anything, let me get back to the beginning of this post and say, don't get caught up in being left behind in the new form and the new idea, the new format, the new thought, because that's what's going to keep us behind. Trying to keep up, as we used to say, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Right now, the Joneses is social media. The Joneses is what the politicians are trying to do to your family by saying the school owns your children. While they're in class, no child should be able to come to school and change their name, change their gender, and do none of that stuff. I mean, what? Are we serious? What's going on? I couldn't do anything. I remember I didn't smoke bud for a long time, But at the age of 16, I didn't. I didn't start smoking until I was like 25. I said that to say I got in trouble for doing stuff like that. We couldn't buy nothing under the age of 16. You couldn't do nothing. You had to sneak in the movies under the age of 16, especially if it was a rated R movie. What's the meaning of significance of PG-13 and rated R? Why are we separating the difference? Because it means something. And so you couldn't buy liquor, you couldn't buy alcohol, and you still can't. And that's for a reason. I remember graduating and going to the wanted to go to Walt Disney. And my mom actually rented a room for me and my friend. She had to rent the room. Yeah. School is indeed, they're just not trying, my friend. You know what they are? They are trying. You said that right. But guess what? They are seceding. And it's sad. They're not really seceding and confusing them. What they're doing is they're driving the rift. They're making it possible to drive that rift in between the parent and the child. And so, if you're like me, a father, my father was killed when I was young. If you're like me, and you're not getting those things that you see your brother and your sister getting, maybe your sister's getting a little bit more because her father has a little bit more money, or your brother, her father is a little bit more. And I won't say that their fathers didn't try to make me feel comfortable, but what I'm saying is this is giving room for any child to go to school and say, if I'm upset, if I'm feeling that if I'm seeing something that my sister or brother is getting that I can't have, and the school is ready to pacify this. If I can go, and they start asking me questions, do you feel like you want to be your sister? Do you feel like you want to be Pauline? Because Pauline dresses better, she looks better, her hair is always done. Do you feel like you want to be there? Because they will assist, and you as the parent can do nothing. I mean, they tell us we can do nothing but sit on the sideline, but if you're a parent like me, we're not going for that. People better get involved, find out what's going on in the schools, find out when you sign up these medical permissions in school, find out. And you'll learn that you are giving the school permission to start treating your kids with hormone blockers and all kinds of stuff. You are giving the school way more permission to give them a Tylenol. So get off your asses and start finding out what's going on. Stop fearing being the federal enemy, because I do understand what the FBI and so many branches of law are doing to parents that are actually trying to find out and actually trying to be a parent for their child. I see it. But guess what? That's better than going to school and giving your child over to the damn wolves. Remember what the Bible said when we get back to the premise of what I started. That's right. That is indeed what they are doing. And when we look into history, this is what the Chinese did. This is the Mao dynasty. This is how they did this. Once you pit the kids against the children, man, almost anything can happen. Almost anything can happen. People don't know the history and they don't know how history repeats itself. But get back to the premise, and I just hope people fear more the thought of being outside of God, outside of good, outside of righteousness, more than the thought of being outside of your social media, outside of the like community, outside of the views community, outside of, the popular thing that gets us almost nowhere on social media most of the time. Um, it is a political agenda going on, and right now, if you're not paying attention, that means it's working. Um, and I appreciate you, my brother. Hopefully, we can talk about some music and things. But I, more than anything, I appreciate you for sitting here listening this long, because that means you understand some of the things that I'm speaking about. You've seen it, and you don't approve of it, and I can tell by your comments. And so that's the problem. We don't have enough people actually willing to sit through something that's said to be boring. If I had some big booty witches in the background, or if I was talking about the same things that are sending our youth to prison, the same things that are imprisoning our youth before they even go to prison, and I mean drugs, I mean everything else that locks our children's minds down in these things that makes them feel like there is no way out of the ghetto. There is no way out of the conditions we're in. There is no way to go to school and get an education without being down in the popular crowd, without being, they're not even educating anymore. So those are things that we have to start fighting. And we can't keep prolonging it, and we can't keep acting like it's not happening. And that's just it, man. That's just it. I'm Crown Dion. I'm out. You can find my music, Crown Dion with a K. Find all the good music that you can actually download, share with your children, listen to, be educated from without it being corny. Me and my brother right here gonna do some music. My TikTok, I appreciate you. Facebook, appreciate you. Instagram, let's get the views up. Share, post, like. But more than anything, let's pay attention to what's happening, man. It's real. Oh, snap, my bad.